Welcome to The Point. I am your host, Eric Mitchell, and today we are talking conspiracy theories, conservative social media platforms, and everything else that goes with election 2020. I have a good friend of mine here, Rod Rodriguez. Rod is the host of Military Matters podcast. You can find that part of the Stars and Stripes amazing network. And Rod, we're kind of happy that Stars and Stripes gets to stick around. I know that you guys were on the cutting block there for a quick minute. An Atlantic article really pushed that back to make sure you guys got some funding, so that was good. Kind of convenient timing, yep. We'll just say that. But your show's awesome, man. I love Military Matters. The whole purpose of having you on here is you had an amazing podcast talking about QAnon and really seeing how it's in our ranks and how many people believe it, even outside of our ranks. We'll kind of finish this conversation and also dive into our now 5th Secretary of Defense. Scary. And then we'll talk about what's coming up on your show. And if you missed the show, I was actually on it. We told Halloween stories, so go back and check out those.
Right.
Those were fun. Those were good. That was a great episode, by the way. All your episodes are money. I mean,
yours was so good. Terror in Tonga.
Terror in Tonga. I love that. It makes it sound so fancy. People are like, where is Tonga? Google. That was the day that there was a record number of people trying to find Tonga. So, Rod, QAnon. They're everywhere. People have so many conspiracy theories. The fact that the president retweets their stuff kind of is alarming. But this guy's out of control anyways on Twitter. Let's just face it. It doesn't matter. I have friends in the GOP who tell me this all the time. They really don't like it. You've seen the caps locks. You've seen the incorrect statements. You've seen it's happened for 4 years. It's really been happening the last week since the election came. Here we are waking up to the news that another person who attended the victory speech, sorry, it's hard to, I'd almost gag a little bit and laugh at the same time, victory speech held in the White House on Wednesday morning about 2:35 a.m. came down with COVID-19. First was Meadows, his chief of staff, and now it is Benny Carson, another person with COVID-19. We haven't seen Attorney General Barr. He's been MIA for the last few weeks. And Chris Christie, he's on ABC telling everybody to wear a mask and that the president's nuts. And to add to the conspiracy theories, when I come out to the East Coast, I can't wait to stay at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. Like the Four Seasons, not the landscaping company between the crematorium and the porn shop. But, we're going to go there. Lots of things, right? We have so much to talk about, and QAnon's kind of right in the middle of them all. And let me ask you this. Would you agree, when your investigation, I meant to ask you this offline, Anonymous, would you kind of compare, like, Anonymous to QAnon? Would you kind of say those are kind of the same threshold?
Not really. Oh, okay. I wouldn't put him in the same bucket.
Okay.
Anonymous is more about a movement towards exposing a lot of truths. We're looking at a technological call to arms. If you're great at doing this or great at doing that is to break into information systems, Anonymous is really about doing that, exposing whatever truths or untruths are out there. Now, where QAnon kind of comes in is that it's a belief structure. It is a system of ideology that says that there is this cabal and the president is the savior of the country, and that he's going to use the military to at some point arrest, deter, destroy the current regime, the current system that is in place. Now, this election threw a giant wrench into those plans. A lot of QAnoners are now left sitting high and dry, like where's Q? If you watch some of the recent chat boards where a lot of QAnon discussions take place, you'll see there's a sense of urgency, a sense of desperation, like where is Q? Where are these manifested predictions that were supposed to occur? They're not occurring. Now, where do we go from here? My fear has always been, and I think Jack Murphy echoed the same fear in our interview, was what happens when people feel disenfranchised, when they feel like, oh, maybe we're supposed to bring pound of change. Maybe I'm supposed to take my guns and go do something about it. This is a very real thing. It's a very scary situation. And at the end of my podcast, at the end of several of my other shows, especially during this election season, I kept trying to stress patience, discipline, and some forethought. Like,
Yeah.
don't go do anything stupid because tensions are so high.
Yeah.
And everyone's just so on edge. And you felt it, didn't you? You felt it, like, as the votes were coming in, the electoral votes and the popular vote, you're like,
It was a roller coaster. You're absolutely correct. I don't mean to cut you off, but kind of have a question. But you're right. The roller coaster that was Tuesday night, kind of going, God, the guy we supported, we voted for, this isn't looking good. And keeping in mind that everyone had said it's going to be different because it's COVID-19, which is a very real deal. As we went on air, the numbers are not looking good. We're actually, if we're talking about rounding corners, unfortunately with the corners we keep rounding, all we've done is a full circle. We're back to March. If that's what we're talking about, rounding corners. I don't know, we can keep rounding corners and you just end up in a circle. That's truly, you're not turning corners. But let me ask you this. The big things that you're seeing that are all being, it kind of throws QAnon in and now kind of twisting that to conspiracy theories. You've had, go down the line. Let's just say here, you've had the felt tip markers in Arizona did not get read. Proven false because the Secretary of State came out for Arizona and said, that's bull. We set this up. That's why we told people to use them. Debunked. Dead people are voting. False. That's been proven. I mean, it's embarrassing because the people who are fact checking aren't the Facebook fact checkers or Twitter fact checkers. It's the BBC. It's gigantic international outlets going, you guys are crazy. You're all saying, it's like just saying whatever you want. I mean, where do we go from here? Is this QAnon? When did we become so conspiracy theory? Because you're seeing people. And I have family that's involved in this because I see them spewing, and I use the word spewing because that's what it looks like to me. No fact checking involved, just saying whatever you want. I mean, case in point, head to your Twitter right now and compare Joe Biden's tweets to the president's.
But everybody, both sides are guilty.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
The Democrat, anybody that's trying. So first of all, let's talk about playing for our team. We all love our team. Now, no matter if you're a sports enthusiast or political enthusiast, you root for your team. You have a tendency to kind of ignore when your team does something irregular or they cheat. How many people stopped being New England Patriots fans when the Inflategate happened, or when it became the Astros? Just recently, right?
Hey, don't get me started on the Astros. You know I think they're cheaters. And don't get me started. I mean, there's a lot of Patriot fans that are happy this morning going, Brady couldn't even get a touchdown. And Jameis Winston came back in. I mean, talk about... Anyways,
you look at it from that perspective of like, okay, my team did something bad, but you ignore it. Let me tell you, I don't think very many people jumped off the Astros wagon. They just kind of like, well, I mean, let me explain why that's not cheating. We have a tendency to kind of glare, not glare, but I should say, we all have a tendency to kind of glance over our imperfections and stuff that we did wrong. So both the Democrats and the Republicans, they have a tendency of misinformation. We all have a tendency of warping the truth, of trying to convince you of something because it's harder to explain it in detail. That's the problem. We want simple, fast, algorithmic answers. We want it to be done in a YouTube minute.
Yep. Everything's algorithms. Everything is. Everything.
We don't have time to. Neither side has the time to explain to us, the bigger problem. Remember when Ross Perot back in the day booked up all that time and he had the charts? He's like, let me tell you something about this on this level and here. I got these charts. Nobody cared. They were like, crazy old dude, on TV rambling. He tried to present his platform to the American people and it failed miserably. Yep. This is why we have the political atmosphere we have today, where it's all about snaps and jabs and Sleepy Joe and all these other. It's fun.
You're correct. I mean, we did just have a president. I mean, we ran a political race on a guy who's the oldest president-elect we've ever had against a guy who never once gave a plan for his next 4 years. I mean, you got to think about that compared to what we had 4 years ago, what was running with plans. We went with absolutely nothing. Here's the back of the paper. That's what we have. This is the plan, even with the vaccine. I mean, that's a whole nother episode. So before you go, I do want to cover it. You are the host of Military Matters, so this is a military matter. You work in Virginia in the DC area. You see a lot. You get it. You've spent some time in service, a long time in service. We're on our 5th Secretary of Defense. We started with a great, oh my goodness, General. Of course, I'm saying that as the Marine. But General Mattis, amazing. The Patton of our generation. I think you guys even in the Army agree with me that General Mattis is hands down the amazing. We've gone through just so many. I mean, and you got to think about it. We say 4 years. I started this saying the 5th and 4. But Mattis was with us for 2. And he was fired, and, you know, the president came out with all his assertions that he would be a better general than our generals, which was ironic. I mean, if you are sitting in D.C., you're the host of Military Matters, where do you guys take these next 70 days, and knowing that now we have a different boss as the Secretary of Defense, so it kind of floods under what you guys are doing. Interesting article did come out. We'll share it in here. Our friends at Military Times had an exclusive interview with Secretary Esper, and he kind of started talking the truth. So let me ask you this 2 questions. 1, where do we go from here? And before you go there, 2, do you think these folks are scared to speak out why they have their roles for the fear of being fired via Twitter? Or is there something else? I mean, I just don't understand how we've had so much turnover at Secretary of Defense, because I'm in my 40s and I can tell you, I can't recall, like, I know there's changeover like every 4. And when there's like a new president, I get moving people around, that happens. But firing somebody, I mean, we're at war, but it's not like we're constantly under attack. Things are doing better over in the sandbox. We need to pull that back. But I'm not understanding going through this as many Secretary of Defenses as I have. If you can break it down for me, if you want to touch it, if you don't want to touch it, totally understand too.
I will say this, that when it comes to where we're at right now as a country, we celebrated, the country seemed to celebrate the decision for a new presidency, for a new president. They celebrated the media calculating. Okay. My opinion, and this is from my military mindset, nothing was won. There's no inauguration yet. The president is still Donald Trump. That is the president of the United States. And it is up to him how he chooses to, whether this term ends, whether there is a rabbit out of the hat, I don't know. What I do know for a fact is who is president and who is not. So if you're under this current administration, and I mean your boss is still your boss. Doesn't matter who the next boss will be. What matters is who's the boss right now. Now I will say that what we're coming out of, I'm going to say if, because I believe that Joe Biden is the president-elect. I believe that's going to be what the final tally, the final votes, when it's all said and done and the dust settles. I believe that's where it's going to go. Now, if I'm surprised, then we'll all be surprised. That's a topic for a different show. But at the end of the day, we're coming out of a 4-year bender, a 4-year administration where it was permissible to be mean, crude, divisive, intentionally divisive, and any type of coming of the minds or any type of negotiation was seen as weakness. We have a lot to deal with in this country. A lot of healing, a lot has to occur. And if there's anything we should be celebrating, and I said this on my Facebook, I said this on Twitter, there is nothing to celebrate except that we all came out to vote, which should be the norm. It shouldn't have taken such divisiveness to pull every American out of their homes, take time off of work to vote. That's what we should truly be celebrating, that we came out to do that. The next part is to understand that the minute we give a system, a government, a person this much control of how we think or how we feel, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And that's where we need to evolve. We need to start thinking about taking care of ourselves before allowing other people to make those decisions for us.
I love it. And before you go, and I like everything you said, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're short on time. So obviously that just forces us to have you back on, which I love having you on, brother. You know that. Before you go, I'll wish you a happy Veterans Day, because this is our week. It's an amazing thing. No matter what in American history, no matter what goes on, the one consistent thing that you and I both can agree on, and I think any guest who comes on, it doesn't matter what their politics are, if they served, we all took an oath, and we understand that we have to remember our veterans, and this is a week to remember the living and those who have sacrificed, that are home. May is our memorial to our fallen. It's not that we don't remember our fallen, but there's a lot going on in the veteran world, and we'll have you back to talk about all the things that go on. But you're right. The points that you brought up, I totally agree with you. And you're dead right. President-elect Biden will be President-elect Biden. I do find it ironic. Everybody's like, the media it's like shocking the media called this. I'm like, 4 years ago, the media called this. As a matter of fact, for those who are playing at home and want to know, President Trump was declared the winner of the presidential election. That's right. Before he had hit 270 electoral college votes. He ended up with 306, what they're predicting that Biden will end up with. Crazy to think about 4 years and how people are like, I don't get it. I mean, it's the same thing, and I'm calling you out on the left. And it was beautiful to see the celebrations, and I agree with so many. It was like a weight lifted off your shoulders. But how could you sit there and go at his freaking baby Hitler rallies that he was holding around the country and wants to do it? Well, his Johnny Appleseed of COVID-19 rallies, as I call them. And he wants to continue those, but how hypocritical of the people who voted for Biden to be out in the street. I get you want to celebrate, but you're not admiring social distancing. And I hate to be on a bandwagon, but let's just break it down. We reached an ugly milestone at 10 million cases. Yep. Cases are up over 60% the last 2 weeks. And in fact, deaths are up 18% the last 2 weeks. 993 Americans are dying a day. COVID is very much real. I don't care who you voted for. You need to take it serious. Wear a mask and take your social distancing.
But let's bring it back home, back to conspiracy. Yes. Everything you just said is being argued right now. There are people that are saying that you're completely wrong, Eric. COVID is not real. It's not as bad. And in fact, this is all part of a government conspiracy, insert XYZ numbers of whatever. So at the end of the day, no matter what we say, no matter what we do, there is always going to be those folks that are going to say that you're wrong.
Yep.
But you have to stick with what you know is right.
I just go off of facts. I'm not going to argue John Hopkins. I'm not a scientist. I don't even try to play one on TV. I can tell you that I'm not, and I don't think you guys want me to be a scientist because I'm far from. But we have that. But anyways, before you go, like I said, you're the host of Military Matters with Stars and Stripes, an amazing podcast. You can get it wherever you find podcasts. What you guys got coming up for everybody to tune in? Obviously, you're probably doing something special. It's Veterans Month. I know the president did declare that, like so many presidents do. You got anything special coming up you want to tease us with so we can know, because we're coming up Thanksgiving, Veterans Week, all these great things.
This Thursday, huge podcast. Look, I know we have been talking about conspiracy, but here's something that is not that much of a conspiracy anymore. UFOs or UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. Everybody thinks little green men and Martians and whatnot. We talk with Chris Mellon and the director of the film The Phenomenon. If you haven't had a chance to watch this movie, it is phenomenal. But we are talking about the official, the big opening, the big reveal that happened just recently. The Department of the Navy is now in charge of examining and exploring unidentified aerial phenomena they have confirmed exist and have been flying around nuclear facilities. This isn't like maybe or X-Files. No, it's real. They've confirmed it's real. It's happening. They don't know what they are. And how this isn't the biggest story of the year, that there are Tic-Tac shaped objects flying and making our AF-18s look like a joke. That's a problem. And like I said on the show, we think it's a political problem right now. But what we don't want for this to escalate to a military problem or military matter, because when it does, then we got problems.
Yep. I mean, how naive would we be as a country to think that we're alone here? I mean, come on, folks. It's a big galaxy, and we are far from the last people here. I always love it. Everybody thinks it's little green men, and I actually love those conspiracies. I live in the Pacific Northwest, where Yetis are a big thing. So conspiracies, no, after I watch that episode, listen to that episode, we'll have you back on. I'd love to talk UFOs. I like having you on. We talk about the fun things with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Rod Rodriguez, the host of Military Matters. Catch it. What day of the week do your episodes drop? I always catch them at random times.
Every Thursday, a new episode of Military Matters, or a fast take from Military Matters. We talk about the last episode. We kind of do a curse over, and we'll give you a nice 15-minute tidbit. There you go.
Awesome. I love it. So make sure you guys tune in. Go over when you're done watching us. Go check out Military Matters. Go give it a listen, subscribe, and make sure you leave a comment that you heard about it on our show. Give Rob some love. He's doing a lot of hard work out there. He's amazing. The folks you work with, over there at Stars and Stripes, Connecting Vets, amazing outlets. Go support all of those. Those are the folks. These folks are putting out Abby Bennett. Oh my God, her content, just you could give her a high five from us. Absolutely, her defense of veterans and exposing the VA and what they're not doing, I enjoy thoroughly, because that's some good investigative journalism that I get it. The news cycle is mean, and it doesn't matter who's president. Veterans just haven't made it to the front page unless we're doing something bad, like mass shootings or something, is usually what the media likes to cover. It's not good
Connecting
things.
Vets is a true hidden gem.
Yeah,
a true.
absolutely.
I mean, it's amazing. I'm so proud to work with Connecting Vets and Stars and Stripes. I'm living the dream, folks.
You are.
Living the dream.
So make sure you go support those. Check out Military Matters podcast with my good bud here. He'll be back in just a few weeks. We're going to talk about UFOs. Can't wait for that. So, Rod, bud, thanks for doing that. If I don't get to chat with you before Veterans Day, make sure you have a wonderful Veterans Day. You deserve it, bud. You keep doing that amazing work. Thank your team over there, everybody at Stars and Stripes and Connecting Vets, for just doing an amazing job keeping it running, and all of us checking it out. And everybody else, check out the segments. Remember to smash that subscribe button, and we'll be back with our next episode real soon.